How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. There's something that was just announced yesterday that's going to bring billions and tens of billions and probably hundreds of billions, maybe even trillions over time of dollars into Bitcoin. I want to talk about that. It's something that I missed because it came kind of late last night, but it is really exciting. If you don't mind, hit subscribe underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this. Also, if you want to trade cryptocurrency using leverage, there's a link underneath the video to Margex. You can get set up in just a few seconds. You don't need a KYC, you don't need a VPN, and you can use all different forms of collateral. So for Bitcoin, right, if I want to trade the Bitcoin chart, I can trade it with Solana, I can trade it with Bitcoin, I can trade it with Ethereum, USDT, Caspa, USDC, etc. Maybe even XRP, right? You can use all different forms of collateral for it. So depending on, I guess no matter how you make out in the Bitcoin trade, you can get paid out in that collateral that you use, which is pretty cool. There's also a big Caspa airdrop, which gives you free money just for trading on the platform. So check that out underneath the video. Now, the rate expectations are changing. Kind of interesting. 46% chance of a 50 basis point cut. This is up from 34% yesterday and 24% last week. I just noticed this. I just happened to notice it. Pretty interesting. Obviously, Bitcoin's doing pretty well right now after the 50 basis point cut. It's been up and up and up from 57,000 all the way up to 63. We're right at the 200-day moving average. Hopefully, we can break that and then break this previous high of 65,000. Obviously, a lot of eyes are on that. There have been a lot of good pieces of news recently. One was one that we covered yesterday. BNY Mellon now apparently can custody Bitcoin, or will be able to. They got approval. And I talked about that in the video yesterday, so we don't have to cover it again. But right after this, there was another big piece of news. The SEC granted accelerated approval for the listing and trading of options on IBIT. IBIT obviously being their ETF. This is a big deal. And I think a lot of people, maybe in crypto, understand options, but there are also a lot of people that don't. I know people that are really well versed in crypto that have never looked at options. They don't understand how options work and why they're beneficial. So let's talk about why this is such a big deal here today and why it's going to bring tens of billions, hundreds of billions, and more of dollars into Bitcoin over time. Now, this isn't like a day one thing where Bitcoin's price just skyrockets by $10,000. But it will definitely affect the price over time in a positive way. There are several people that gave their thoughts on it. I'm going to read it and then kind of give you my thoughts on it too. Eric Balkanis says, I'm assuming others will be approved in short order. Huge win for the Bitcoin ETFs as it will attract more liquidity, which in turn will attract more big fish. This is a nice surprise regarding the timing, but not a shocker as they expected 70% odds of this by end of May. Important note, this is just one stage of approval. The OCC and CFTC still has to approve this before they can officially list. The other two don't have a clock, so not sure when they'll be approved. A big step, though, nonetheless, that the SEC came around. Invest Answer says institutions typically need advanced risk management tools before entering new asset classes. Having the ability to hedge positions with options makes Bitcoin exposure more appealing to risk-averse institutional investors. I believe this is a net positive. Now, for those that don't understand options, we're not going to spend a ton of time going over it today, but it basically allows you to control your position more without having to sell it. So let's say you had 100 shares of IBIT. You could say, hey, it's at $37 right now. I'm willing to sell if it goes up 20% in a month because that's a really good return. I'm already going to take profits. Maybe I have 1,000 shares of IBIT, right? But I put 100 shares into this options contract and I sell you a call, right? I sell you a call, a covered call. So that allows you to buy my shares at a 20% gain from where it is right now, which would be what, $8? So maybe like $45 or so. I say, hey, you can buy them 30 days from now for $45. And then if it goes up to $44, I still hold on to them. You don't want to buy them from me at $45 because you could just go and buy them at $44. But if it goes up to $60, if IBIT goes to $60, you have the right to buy them at $45. Now, why would I ever give up that option? Well, because you'll pay me right up front for that option. So I might make, $1 per share or something like that, $2 per share selling that option. So it gives me a fat premium up front, gives me cash flow, and it gives you the ability to, leverage. You might just pay $1-2 per share for the option to get all these shares at a lower value. So if we go to that scenario where it really is $60 and you can buy them at $45, you just got $15 per share and you paid $1 or $2 per share. So you basically are able to leverage up. Now, this is different from trading on something like MargX because there's more of a time component and a price component. Here, it's just a price component, right? We could go and chop sideways for a long time, chop sideways, and then it doesn't affect you. In options, it does affect you pretty drastically because there's that time component to it. There's a certain date that the options expire. The other thing is there's more liquidity in this. Like you can close this at any time. In options, there has to be a market for it. There have to be people that want it. There has to be liquidity, which I bet probably will have that. But this also gives you more access to leverage as well. Like you can go 100x. Options, they're not quite as leveraged as that, in my opinion. Plus, you can do this without KYC. So if you have a large amount of Bitcoin and you don't want people to know what you're trading, you can do that more easily. Plus, it's open 24/7, which is really nice. More flexibility too, because you can trade different cryptos besides just an Bitcoin ETF. So there are some differences, but that's generally how it's structured. Now there aren't going to be probably multi-billion-dollar companies trading on a trading terminal like this. Now there are some within crypto, but I don't imagine some bank is going to come over to MargX and start trading billions of dollars, right? That's not how it goes, but they might do that with options. This is a tool that a lot of people will use because they can make premiums. Right? I've gone through and shown in previous videos, you can make something like 20% a year. And of course there's downside risk, right? If IBIT just goes down to $5 per share from 37, your premiums are going to pay a little bit, but you still lost 80%, right? But it does help you get some I don't want to say free income, but it gives you some premiums. It gives you some income that you can turn Bitcoin into an income instrument from just being a commodity. And some people will like that. So again, you can get more leveraged, you can hedge positions, you can also create income, which some people love the idea of. Neil Jacobs goes through 5 reasons why he thinks this is so bullish. Increase institutional participation, liquidity boost, price discovery, mainstream. It's an adoption signal for the mainstream, and diversified financial products are coming out. So yeah, you can read more of this if you want, but just a couple more reasons why these are bullish. And as this happens, we continue to see more and more inflows. So yes, 2 days ago on Thursday, we saw $158 million of inflows. Yesterday, we got GBTC with 0. The mini had 13 million in inflows. ARKB with 22 million in inflows. BITB with 15 million. Fidelity with 26 million. All the way down, let's just go down to the bottom, 92 million in inflows for the day. So pretty good. Of course, it is still odd to me that IBIT had a $0 day again. But what can you do? Eventually, they'll probably have some inflows again. It is interesting to see that they've had so little and so many days of $0 days over the last month. I'm really curious to see if we'll ever know why that's happening. But let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Are you going to be using options at all? I know there are a lot of Bitcoiners that would say, I'm never gonna work with the options. I'm just gonna hold it pure form. But a lot of people don't come at Bitcoin from the perspective of actually taking advantage of some of the utility of Bitcoin. They just want it as a financial instrument, or they just want it as an investment. They don't care about self-storage. They don't care about the freedom that Bitcoin gives you. They just want the returns. They want those juicy returns of 40, 50% a year. And because of that, they're okay buying IBIT instead of buying pure form Bitcoin because it's less risk for them to hold, or they can put in retirement accounts or something. And then, you can get some juicy premiums, as I said. Like I said, too, you can get up to maybe 20% a year. Obviously, if you get a higher amount in premiums, you're going to lose some of your upside potential. So you could say, hey, if Bitcoin doubles by next month, I'll sell it. And then maybe you get I don't know, a 0.5% on that IBIT that you're willing to sell calls on. I'm just making these numbers up, but it is probably generally correct, right? And then you could say, no, if Bitcoin goes up 20% next month, then I'll sell it. And maybe you get like 1% or 2% premiums. Still, if it goes up 20% in a month, that's a fantastic return. That's like 2 years in the S&P 500. So pretty good return if you're willing to part ways with the Bitcoin. So if you had, I don't know, $200,000 in IBIT, you might be able to make $40,000 a year off premiums and still have some upside. So it is interesting to a lot of people. A lot of people will be using this, and this will bring tens of billions and probably hundreds of billions of dollars into Bitcoin over time for large money investors, because they can hedge, right? And some of them are just willing to buy, like they have to have the option, even if they don't want to use the options. Sometimes they just have to have the options there just in case. And then it also will bring in more retail in my mind too. There are some people that love selling options, that love doing the wheel strategy, right? I've gone through that before on the channel if you want to hear about that, but it's a way to get premiums and to cycle through and make more and more money upfront from options. But some people really like that, and they won't buy assets that don't allow them to do that. So now that Bitcoin has that, they're like, okay, I'll diversify into a new asset class, one that's done really well, and like I'm not married to it. I'll just get those fat premiums. I know there are going to be people that do that, and of course there are going to be people that do that as well, and they miss out on the upside, right? They buy IBIT at 37 when Bitcoin's at 63,000. They sell a premium, or they get a premium. They sell a call option. They get 5% cash on that call option, or 5% premium. Make 20% on the upside, right? So they get a nice 25% gain, and then they miss out on the 100% gain. There are definitely going to be people like that as well. Let me know your thoughts, though, underneath the video. Again, if you want to check out Margex, there's the link underneath the video. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.